Hi, this is John Gabriel, author and creator of the Gabriel Method, a diet-free approach to sustained weight loss. And I'm very pleased today to be joined by Marisol Rocha, who will be telling us about her own healing journey and her own weight loss experience, and also a very specific type of coaching she does called core energy coaching. Marisol is a life coach. She's a mother of two. She's someone who's had many physical issues herself, such as rosacea and serious allergies and thyroid issues. She lost over 70 pounds working with us at the Gabriel Method, and she's now a Gabriel Method coach with the Ultimate Coaching Experience. And I love this new technique that she's introduced me to. Well, it's new to me anyway, that works on befriending and reversing the inner critic inside our head. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Also, Marisol will be joining us at our 2015 Omega retreat to work through this process of reversing the inner critic inside us, befriending it and reversing it through this core energy coaching, and also to help share and inspire and talk about her own experiences as well. Marisol is an extremely educated and passionate person, and I love the energy that she's sharing with us. I'm sure you will too. So Marisol, thanks very much for joining us. I'm wondering if we can start by telling us a little bit about your own specific health journey.
Sure. So growing up, I was an athlete. I definitely was, I didn't have a weight issue from childhood. But when I moved to New York City after I graduated from university, I was sort of in a work hard, play hard advertising marketing world. And I quickly gained a lot of weight. And so after a few years in that world, maybe 6, 7 years, I decided, this is really taking a toll on me because it was a lot of late nights, a lot of weekends. I wasn't having the space or the time to take care of myself the way I used to. So I decided to leave that world. And the day after I resigned, I got the news that my mom was diagnosed with a stage 4 brain cancer. Mm. And my world got completely turned inside out. I went home to help take care of her and help her battle, her chemo and her radiation. And I was in the midst of planning my wedding, and they said that she might not make it to the wedding. So it was a really devastating time, and my mom ended up battling her cancer for 3 more years. And in that time, I discovered my professional passion, which was life coaching. I started my own business. I got married. I got pregnant, and I had my son. And my mom lost her battle to her cancer when my son was 5 months old. And, this is an important part of my story because I think that the weight gain during the pregnancy was something I held on to for years, and it was very hard for me to lose because I couldn't come out of this devastation of having become a new mother and having lost my mother in the same breath.
You couldn't let go.
And it wasn't until many years after that I realized that that was something that was having me hold on to the weight. So for maybe 4 or 5 years after my mom passed away, I did every single diet you can think of. I would gain weight and I would lose weight up and down. And I just sort of came to a place where I hit rock bottom. I was angry all the time. I wasn't myself. I didn't recognize myself inside or out. And I decided, I really need to look at my grief. I never gave myself the chance to process that devastation because I just went into go mode with my new baby.
I mean, you got a business, you got a marriage, you got kids. It's almost like you don't have the space to grieve. It's almost like sometimes we feel like it's like a luxury or something. Because we got too many other things to do. We can't be worried about ourselves. But in reality, it's the best thing we can do, not only for ourselves, but for our family and everything that we're doing.
Absolutely, because if you don't, energy is in or out. So if you don't deal with what's going on the inside, it's gonna bubble up and it's gonna explode. And I think it's not just that I was busy; it's that I just subconsciously couldn't look at those emotions yet.
Yeah.
So when I realized where it was really coming from, and in my coach training and everything, it's almost like I knew it, but I wasn't ready to do it. And once I was ready to look at it, I started working with my own coach, and I started really tapping into a lot of different modalities, and the healing process started, which was really great. But the weight still stayed on. My body wasn't letting it go, even though I was still doing different, diets and always trying to work on it. So in this journey of healing on the emotional side, I came across the Gabriel method, which spoke so deeply to me because you really address this idea of emotional obesity, that there is a reason for why you're holding on to the weight. And I had kind of come to that in my journey, and I was like, oh, finally something that can then overlay the nutritional piece and really sort of give me the permission to create a new relationship with my body.
Yeah.
So I came to GM, and I started off with the detox, and it was really the catalyst for the rest of the journey. I truly believe a lot of people hear, oh, you did the detox and you started losing weight and that's where your success began. I think if the detox had come to me many years earlier before I had done the emotional work,
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't have been the catalyst that it
It's
was.
such an important point. It's almost like,
You know,
the wood's got to be dry to make a fire. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
like
yes,
like the detox was the spark, but your wood
yeah.
was dry. You were ready to look at these issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stars aligned in that moment.
Yeah. The
My
memory.
body had done enough healing.
Yeah.
And in doing the detox, I started losing the weight. I came out of that detox pretty much with my cravings having been taken care of. I was just surprised because you hear, once your fat programs are turned off, your body will start craving the things that really nourish it, and you'll lose the cravings for which you can't fathom when
You
you're
can't
in it.
fathom. You can't fathom. It's like,
You just
it's like if you're exhausted, you haven't slept for 3 days, you can't imagine ever not being exhausted, But once you've
right.
slept for a while, you're fine again. You don't need sleep anymore. But
Yes.
like when you're in that state of chronic need, you cannot imagine not being in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so once the cravings weren't there, I just was like, I'm gonna roll with it. But I really, really embraced your idea of no deprivation. So I said, if I ever want this again, I'm going to have it because it made sense to me what you talk about, sort of the chemical cocktail reaction that's happening when you're stressed out about depriving yourself.
Yeah.
So I really embraced all of the philosophies and I ran with it.
Yeah. So, and you went on to lose something like 70 pounds. Is that correct? Or?
Yes, so far it's 75.
Awesome. Yeah, you look amazing. And you
70.
you had a skin issue and a thyroid issue and these type of things. And how are you doing with all of that?
Yes. So all along when I was heavy, even before I was heavy, I had goiter when I was younger, and I've had rosacea most of my life. I've had severe seasonal allergies and just
Right.
environmental allergies. So when I started this journey and I started losing the weight and I was really healing my digestion, all these things just started to sort of fall by the wayside. 2 months after starting to lose the weight, I went to a friend's house, and unbeknownst to me, she had cats. And I was very allergic to cats, like immediate, like swelling of the eyes, nasal, everything. And I went in and I said, "Oh my goodness, I don't have any allergy medication on me." And I hung out at her house for 5 hours. I had no
That's
symptoms.
amazing. That's so
It
amazing.
was just,
To me,
you know,
that's really your weight loss journey is really healing from the inside out, which is what we talk about. First, you had to deal with the grief. Then you detoxified and purified your body. Then you healed your immune system and your thyroid and all of these different things. The weight fell off as a consequence of that. You
yes.
know what I'm saying? But you're a much healthier person, both body and mind, which I love. And one of the things, we were talking recently, and you're telling me about this type of coaching that you're doing,
Mhm.
working with the inner critic, and I thought it was really interesting stuff because I haven't heard of approaching this voice, this inner critic, the way you're approaching it. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about the coaching work you're doing, the energetic coaching work, why you're doing it, and a little bit about this work you're doing with the inner critic.
Sure. So when I left the advertising marketing world and I came back from helping take care of my mom, I really dove into finding my professional passion, and I came across life coaching, and it really called to me. So I ended up getting trained and certified at the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, which specifically trains coaches in something called core energy coaching. And it is a little bit different than traditional coaching, because traditional coaching will really address actions, and it's a proactive process which provides focus and organization and accountability. And what core energy coaching overlays to that is that before getting to the change in action, you really go within. It's also, much like the Gabriel method, an inside out process. And you go within to really understand what are the core beliefs that are going on that are maybe have you feeling stuck in some, goal in your life, because there's a connection between your beliefs, which lead to your emotions, which then lead to your actions. So if we can really start in the place of the core beliefs and start to shift things from there, the emotions and the actions will follow, and it'll be much more long-term and sustainable.
Right.
So a key to that work, to going within and looking at your core beliefs, is what are you saying to yourself? What's the tape? What's the story that's going on? And our inner critic lives in that world,
Yeah.
right? Our inner critic lives in ego,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
a lot of times
so,
people say to me, they're talking and they'll say, as they're telling me what's happened, and I went through the day and I thought to myself, oh, Susan, you're so stupid. Or, oh, Susan, you always do that. And I always ask, well, who's talking to you? Because if they're calling you Susan, right? If they're saying to you, oh, Susan, you're so stupid or whatever, who are they?
right.
Are they something different than you? Because anytime I hear that voice in my head, oh, John, I immediately, a red flag goes up and I go, hang on a second. Okay, you're talking to me. Who are you? And why should I listen to you? But we do, but we have this voice in our head and we never question it. And maybe we fight against it, or maybe we bow down to it, or maybe we try to please it. But for a lot of us, it runs our life. And we don't really understand it, and it causes all kinds of stress and negative self-belief and negative opinions about how we can achieve, or, maybe, oh, Bill, you're never going to achieve anything, or you always do that, and it stops us in every different way. So,
It is.
And I was really impressed with what you were talking about how you're working with it. So tell me a little bit about what you do with that voice that we have in our head.
Sure. Well, that voice really was created at some point in our early years, in our childhood development, and it was created. I come from the philosophy, it was created as a protection energy.
Yeah.
Like, it's really an energy that we hold within, and it's typically very negative, right? It's our inner critic.
That makes a lot of sense, the protection part of it, because typically we develop this voice from our parents, and as young kids we see our parents as protectors. So whatever their voices are, we're going to adopt our mind is going to adopt as a script to protect us. Our mind's going to say, okay, these are the words we have to say to protect ourselves because these are our protectors. But the reality is what we're typically getting is a lot of their limitations instead of protection. I remember this one kid, someone was telling me that their brother, when they were growing up, their brother was 18, and it was his 18th birthday. And she overheard him talking to himself, and she heard him say to himself, well, Ken, you're 18 years old and you've got nothing to show for yourself.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, what are you supposed to show for yourself when you're 18? But I'm thinking that this guy's probably got this voice in his head no matter what he does, because it's so undefined. What does it mean to have anything to show for yourself? And it's never going to get there. And it's like this bar that keeps getting raised and raised and raised that you can never go over. And it's with him. And he obviously picked it up from his parents at a very early age. And now he's carrying it his whole life. And it's ruling him, or maybe it's not ruling him. Maybe he's overcome it. But the point is that these things rule us.
They really do. They really do, and they rule us because the inner critic, like I said, it's this energy that was created to protect us from never having to feel some deep pain that we felt in whatever moment it was created.
That's so brilliant,
right?
Let me just stop with that, because nobody has ever explained the inner critic that way to me, and as you know, I interview hundreds and hundreds of experts. And nobody has really explained it quite that way. So I just want to sit with that statement. It's a very profound statement. Okay, so the inner critic was created as an energy to protect us against never having to feel whatever we felt at that moment.
Yes.
Is that correct? So we're a child. We have this really, really bad pain, which is, our parents maybe say something to us that shames us, makes us feel small, scares us, traumatizes us, whatever. And this voice adopts this pain, this inner critic adopts this saying to keep us from ever feeling that feeling again. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, and not necessarily the saying. Like, I mean, it could be, for instance, that example of that boy that you said. That's certainly something that's been said to him. If you don't do this, you're never gonna, have anything to show for it later in life, right? So that was said to him. But it can come up. The inner critic can show up in many different ways. It's actually quite crafty. It's not just in these words like you're not good enough, you're too stupid, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough. It can also come up in indifference. Oh, well, I just don't care about
Yeah.
that, so I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
Right? It has sort of sneaky ways of
Sure.
keeping us from doing things.
But the important thing here, which was to me kind of like a paradigm shift, is to recognize the inner critic as an energy that was originally designed to protect us, because that
Yes.
to me is the same thing as changing the paradigm when you approach weight. Because most of us are fighting our bodies and thinking our bodies are trying to sabotage us with this weight, when in reality the weight's there to protect us from something. And then when we understand that and look in that direction, we can solve the weight problem. So I'm assuming that by changing our focus from this inner critic to be an enemy that we have to battle to an energy that's trying to protect us, we can change our focus also to look for a real solution rather than having a combative relationship with it.
Absolutely. And that's exactly right. And so the process that I take my clients through is called the AIR process, and it's AIR, which is awareness, integration, and release.
Yeah.
And the awareness is befriending it, is
Right.
getting to know it,
Is to recognize it's an energy that wants to protect you, and it's misguided. That's the
Yeah.
same way that weight is. Weight is there to
Yep.
protect you, but it's misguided. So you
Yep.
need to change that and befriend it. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yep.
So the awareness
Yep.
is to be.
Because
So, and that also, I'm guessing, is part of the integration process, because once you befriend something, you're not fighting it anymore. You're embracing it.
yes. And so you go on to name it, give it a gender, create it, like bring a manifestation of it out, which is a nice cathartic process. And so once you accept and recognize and embrace that it's really there to help you, then the release isn't about getting rid of it, because it's something that's a part of us forever. It's really about reassign, like it wants to serve. It was created to serve us. And so this energy, it's about reassigning its job. It's to say, you know what, I'm not that scared child anymore. I don't need you to protect me in this way, but here's how you can help me.
Yeah.
And so then there's coaching that goes on around, how can we utilize this energy to serve us instead of hold
That's
us
beautiful.
back?
It's like redirecting us. I mean, it's like martial arts. When you're a real master in martial arts, you're not fighting. You're taking the person's energy and you're redirecting it. You're actually using it against
Yes.
them. Like a
A nice
real
analogy.
a real martial arts master that does Tai Chi, for example. But a real master will never use its own energy. They'll never see the energy as an attack. They'll just take the energy that's coming from the person, and if it's more energy, that's fine. They'll redirect it and send it back. It's never anything that they're doing. They actually
Yeah.
are integrating it and bringing it. They're aware of the energy, they're integrating it, and they're redirecting it, and that's what it sounds like. So in this process that you're doing, what happens? What do you notice with the clients that you're working with in terms of a shift in their focus and the way they process their life?
Sure. Well, they're less judgmental of themselves,
Yeah,
right? Because you're
yeah,
you're shifting that voice,
yeah,
and they're more confident in going forward and taking on the things that they really do truly want to take on, but that this inner critic was sort of getting in their way.
yeah,
So they're just more able to make conscious decisions. They're able to do more with less effort because they're not having this internal stress and this internal battle
yeah.
anymore. And it's a process, it's a journey, much like the weight loss, because the inner critic has the habit of talking to you the way it talks to you. So there needs to be that transition time for it to shift over
Sure.
to its new role.
Sure. Now you just started working as a coach for us in our UCE Ultimate Coaching Experience.
Yes.
Are you able to integrate some of these principles into the coaching that you do when you speak with our clients?
Yes, well, I'm always I have a trained ear to hear the inner
Yeah.
critic, so I'm
Yeah.
very aware of when that voice is coming up. I mean, it is the saboteur, right? The
Right.
self-sabotage. When we start something new, we're all excited, and then a couple weeks in, we start to have all the reasons for why we can't. So I'm definitely, helping to shine a light on that and introducing this concept within those sessions.
Right.
It's one of those things where it could it can grow from there, and also take on a form like a specialty. I know cellular release addresses things at a very deep level, but we have this sort of level of the emotional
Absolutely.
body and the inner critic.
Yeah.
So that could also become, something that would be interesting for clients to take on.
Somewhere along the line in my journey, the inner critic just dissolved. and
Yes.
it's not because I'm a saint or because I'm perfect. It's just got integrated into my awareness. Like I'd never ever have that thing where John, it never ever talks to me, and I just see, I just see myself doing whatever I'm doing to the best of my ability. And I guess maybe all the work that I did with forgiveness, where I would say over and over again, I forgive you, I accept
Yes.
you, and maybe it's there, but somewhere along the way it just dissolved. And I can tell you that, but prior to that, it's almost like, it's like you're driving in a car and you're in first gear and you're flooring it. There's just like, no matter what you're doing, it's harder. There's more noise and there's more friction and you're not getting as far as you want, but there's extra effort. Because wherever you could just be on the subway and this voice is causing stress, and it's causing chemistry. Stress and chemistry is causing fear. It's causing you to gain weight for protection and also because of the biology of it. Somewhere along the line it dissolved with me, but I never did this process that you're talking about. But I'm really fascinated with the process because I recognize how important it is. Now you're gonna show us this process. You're coming to our Omega retreat in August, is that right? And you're gonna show us this air process. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm gonna do my best to bring it to life over the 5 days
Cool.
because it's a more involved, longer process. But I have some ideas on how to be able to do that so people can really sort of sink their teeth into this idea that I can hear this voice in a different way,
Yeah.
and that's a possibility. I
Yeah.
don't have to forever have my dukes up, and
Right.
and be fighting it,
Right.
or be at the mercy of it,
Right.
right? Be the victim to
So do
it.
you see a big shift in the way that voice is? Is that voice still coming to you and say, "Oh, Marisol, you can do better"? Like, does that still happen, or does it happen less? Is it different when it does happen? Like, what's different for you?
Sure. Once in a while, so my inner critic's name is Pepper. She's spicy.
Yeah,
She's spicy,
yeah.
and she can be a
And you
real,
can say, "Oh, Pepper,
real
leave." Can you
pain.
say like, "Oh, Pepper, leave me alone right now because I'm busy"? Or
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, but I also appreciate her, and I think the reason I named her Pepper was because in small doses she's kind of fun,
okay,
and
all right,
so I definitely hear her when she's trying to, she's trying to do the protection thing. But I have such a different relationship with her now because I've given her so many other things that she can help me with.
yeah.
So
You know,
she's actually bold, and that helps me too. So
yeah.
um,
You know what's interesting? So many of the interviews that I'm having right now with experts in healing, it always comes down to stepping back and having an awareness of yourself.
yes,
Because this is a process of rather than being sucked into a conversation with Pepper, you're actually having awareness that there is a Pepper and that is an
yep,
energy, and you are taking a step back and being present rather than reacting. We just did an interview with a lady in the support group, Karina Dobbs, who talked about the most important ingredient in sustainable weight loss is to have that ability to step back and be present.
yes,
Because, like, if
yep,
you're having a blood sugar plummet and all you want is a milkshake, if you can just step back and be present for a minute and say, "Look, my blood sugar's down right now. Let me do some things to raise it up, and then see if I want the milkshake." It'll
yep,
take you out of getting that spiral. So it seems like more and more the real key to sustainable mind body health is having that awareness of yourself, and this
absolutely.
is just another layer to it. Well, when when you're at the Omega retreat with us, and when you do this process, this air process, I'm going to be there because I haven't done it yet. You haven't shown it to me yet, but I'm really interested, and I want to experience it fresh when you're doing it. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Great, great. No, I'm really looking forward to being able to share this and go. It's such a transformation. I was a participant last summer,
Yeah,
and it was so transformational. It is a
yeah.
fantastic experience, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it on as part of the GM team
Yeah,
this
it
year.
was really powerful, I have to say, because so many healers came together and people, and it was one of the strongest healing experiences I've ever had. So much so that I almost felt like I couldn't contain the energy that was coming through the room. It was just unreal.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm definitely looking forward to it this year. But I have to say that to me you're the perfect example of what we try to achieve in the Gabriel method, which is taking not only losing weight, which is great and it's sustainable, but real healing of your emotions, the pain in your life, healing your digestion, healing your body, and then your life, and then going on to do what you love to do with incredible passion. That is
Yeah.
everything that we're trying to achieve, and you're a living, breathing example, and you're going on to help other Gabriel Method students. So I love everything that you're doing, Marisol, and I appreciate you sharing it with
Thank
all of
you.
us.
Thank you.
Cool.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor. I'm really, I I was doing my coaching before, but then I had this whole journey with my mom and the grief and everything. And it was when I came back to my coaching roots, and then, and then your program came in and really just overlaid so much that I said it in a way that I just hadn't heard it before. It's just been such an incredible journey, and I feel
Awesome.
so blessed to be on this side of it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you in August, and I'm sure we'll talk many times before that.
Thank you, John.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining us. As I mentioned, as you can see, Marisol is passionate and knowledgeable, and she's got a very unique type of integrative healing that focuses on relieving emotional issues, resolving the inner critic, and also healing from a mind-body perspective. So she's a great living example of the Gabriel method. She's a great coach for our UCE, and if you're interested, you can join her and us at the Omega retreat that's happening in just a couple of months. There's more information about that below, and if you have any questions, you can contact us, or you can contact Marisol through the Gabriel method. I'm sure she'd love to talk with you. So thanks very much. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.